Hello, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the topics that were brought up in the discussion forum for our first week of class here. Some very interesting stuff as I look back and think about pop culture in the last 10 years. Spice Girls was mentioned quite a bit. That was the first tape I ever got. Of course, you remember the Spice Girls' really one and only big hit. What was that? Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. That song, yeah, anyway. Also, Jersey Shore's got mentioned over and over again as one of these pop culture things where we have these people who have absolutely no talent, no ability, but just get thrust in the right place at the right time and become media superstars. Snooki and The Situation. The Situation pulls up his shirt to show his six-pack. Famous because of his abductor muscles. Interesting. Mark McGrath. Do you remember Mark McGrath? What band was he with? You got it? Huge band in the 90s, Mark McGrath and Sugar Ray. But then Mark McGrath went on and now had quite a career as sort of a TV commentator, talk show host kind of guy. I think he's been on some, well, you help me out. What else has he been on? Has he been on some game shows? I'm not sure. Mark McGrath, really been around. Hulu TV, let's talk about Hulu TV. If you haven't investigated Hulu TV, I want you to check out Hulu TV. You go to hulu.com, it's totally free. You can upgrade to an advanced system that doesn't have commercials, but the commercials on Hulu are really not bad. So anyway, you go into Hulu TV and you can watch all different kinds of stuff. I'm a sucker for history. I really have a history background. My biggest passion is history of music, but I love all kinds of documentaries and biographies. On Hulu recently I've watched the documentary of Lenin, not John Lennon, but Lenin, the Russian revolutionary, Vladimir Ilyich. I don't remember his real last name. His real name is not Lenin, that was just his given revolutionary nickname, kind of like we have Sting or maybe Cher. Lenin, the first of the great one-word media culture personalities. Vladimir Lenin, leader of the Russian Communist Revolution in 1917, a great biography on Hulu.com. Recently I've been watching the story of Martin Luther. Again, not Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther, the 1500s religious revolutionary who started the Protestant movement and rebelled against the Christian church. A very interesting documentary on Hulu TV. So these are the kind of things you can see on Hulu TV. They also have regular TV shows, lots of the comedy shows, so you can watch entire seasons of your favorite TV show right there on Hulu, all totally for free. You do stream it through your computer. You need to have a decent computer connection and hopefully a good computer screen. But that's really the way I've been going, trying to cut the umbilical cord of cable TV. Just not watch regular cable broadcast TV and try and get everything I can from Hulu, and digging around for other sites similar to Hulu that will give you what you need from free streaming TV. 2 thumbs up. I love Hulu. Watch it. I did. Lots of comments about Michael Jackson. What a huge person in pop culture history, and frequently, especially approximately 10 years ago when Michael was having all his troubles with lawsuits and whatnot, we really lost that image of Michael as this really, again, like Martin Luther, this groundbreaking revolutionary figure in pop culture history and in music history, because, and we'll go into this more and more as we go through the class, and I do have a paper about this exact topic in the MLA guide button on the left side there of your blackboard. Michael Jackson, who of course came up in the MC5, came up with the Jackson 5 on Motown Records, and then later came out with his solo career, but had his breakout album Thriller, that had Thriller and Billie Jean and Beat It, produced by the great Quincy Jones. And this album was so groundbreaking, and the song Billie Jean, one of the greatest songs of the last 20 years. No, excuse me, let me take that back. One of the greatest songs of the last 30 years, because Billie Jean came out in 1984, I do believe. This incredible song with an incredible video could not get played on MTV. Quincy Jones and the head of CBS Records and Michael Jackson demanded that it get played on MTV, citing racist issues, and got it played, and it was a groundswell of support for this video, and I was there. I remember it distinctly, seeing this video on MTV and just going, wow, this is it. This is the most amazing video ever made yet, and a great song. Really changed the face of modern music. That one moment opened opened the floodgates for black music and eventually rap music on MTV. Again, more on that later, but a huge, cannot be questioned, one of the biggest moments in pop history, comparable to the Beatles coming over and being on Ed Sullivan in 1964, which is usually stated as the greatest moment in pop culture history, right there in Beatles in 64, Michael Jackson in 1984. Some of the other stuff. Somebody mentioned Howlin' Wolf. Howlin' Wolf was a great old blues man, came out from the South, moved to Detroit and moved to Chicago and got on Chess Records, hung out with Muddy Waters. If you're a fan of the blues, go back and check out the old black Chicago blues, Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, and there's a good movie, not a great movie, it has certain flaws, but a good movie, Cadillac Records, that talks about Chess Records. It's really based on Chess Records, and Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and Little Walter, who was Muddy Waters' harmonica player, and are all dealt with in this movie. Beyonce plays Etta James. Beyonce does a great job in this movie. Please check out that movie, Cadillac Records. Get into this old blues stuff because it had such an impact on the evolution of rock and roll. The Rolling Stones were heavily influenced by all these chess artists that are portrayed in the Cadillac Records movie. Howlin' Wolf. A lot of guys are talking about this helicopter degree, helicopter maintenance, I guess it is. You know, guys, I don't know any. I assume most of you are guys. Hopefully there's some ladies doing this too. And I don't know anything about this. I've got to check it out. So if you have any more information, let me know what this is all about, the helicopter degree. Is this one of the things that's going on out there by the airport, hooked up with the Yavapai College? What a great thing, a great field. You can learn, I'm assuming, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about it, but it just looks like a very good thing. I'm a firm believer in working with our hands and learning how to fix things, some of which is kind of falling by the wayside in our new computer era, that we don't tend to work on cars and we don't tend to work on our electronics like we did when I was a kid. Not that that's good or bad, it's just an evolution of society, but I believe it's good to keep our hands on the tools and keep using tools. Let's all be tool users. That's what separates us from the animals, right? We are the tool users. And last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the 8-track tape. Numerous people have said, oh, what the heck is an 8-track tape? So in the 60s, we were always searching for ways to play music in our cars that was not the radio. We couldn't really play records in the car. Some people did have record players installed in cars, but it never worked very well because, of course, they would skip records, the old 12-inch vinyl records. So William Lear, who developed the Learjet, came up with the 8-track based on a pre-existing technology that had been used in recording studios, had been used in radio studios quite a bit. The endless loop tape in a plastic cartridge. And here is my Engelbert Humperdinck 8-track tape. So you take the 8-track tape, Engelbert Humperdinck, sort of a Tom Jones wannabe in the 70s, a mainstay. I believe Engelbert is still performing in Vegas, Engelbert Humperdinck. You take the 8-track tape and you would push it into the machine. There's the tape, you can see it. The tape would contact the tape head inside the machine. You would push it into the machine and it would automatically start playing. So it was a nice just one-hand thing. You shove it into the machine, it starts playing. You don't have to touch any buttons, any knobs. You don't have to turn it on or off. So very handy for the automobile. And William Lear, who developed this specific 8-track tape, the 8-track tape system. There was a couple of other systems. There was a 4-track system. He developed it in conjunction with the Ford Motor Company, and they started putting the 8-track tape players into the new Mustangs, the Ford Mustangs that came out in 64, 65, and they were a huge success. The only problem was the 8-tracks just were not that good of a system. They didn't work very well. The programming of the music, here's our list of songs. The programming of the music was very clumsy because we were taking basically a record album that would have 6 songs on one side, 6 songs on the next side, and trying to split these up into 4 tracks of music, and each track had to be the exact same length, so it caused all kinds of formatting problems. So here you have the 8-track tape, and you still see them a lot in Salvation Army type stores. They're not worth anything. They didn't sound very good. They always tightened up and screwed up and messed up, and the tapes would break. Really a pretty faulty system. Then the cassette came along and really replaced the 8-track tape. The cassette worked much better. Well, that's all I've got. If you haven't signed in and done an initial post, you need to do so as soon as possible, and be looking for week 2 assignment folder that'll be here on Tuesday with a required 10-point discussion forum and a 10-point quiz. That's all.